Working on a Simplex steam locomotive Part 12, replacing the cab door at the other side, which also reinforces the structure. Making a wooden frame to support the tanks and cab, followed by removing the old paint, which was not a very pleasant job. In one of the side tanks is an emergency hand pump. When the side tanks are full of water, the pump is totally submerged. I've started to remove the pump by undoing the union nut, and now it's gone altogether. Having a hand pump in a steam locomotive is not essential, but very useful. If you have two injectors, that's okay. If they both pack up, you have a problem. So it is a good idea to have a hand pump. Often I wear one of these in the workshop, and just for a change I thought I'd show it. It's a breathing mask. I'm wearing it because I'm going to use the angle grinder to clean up the inside edges of the cab. I'm particularly interested in removing the old solder, which is more than likely lead solder, so it's a good idea to wear a mask. I wore the mask for the other side, but I didn't put it in the video. I'm cleaning up and roughening up the inside edges of the side of the cab. And just like the other side, this should help the JB weld stick properly to the brass. Although brass is by far, I think, the worst material for anything to stick to, other than solder. I really don't want to resolder this replacement panel in position, because the heat of the soldering could cause problems with leakage from the tanks, hence the use of the 2-pack epoxy called JB Weld. With my breathing mask still securely in place, I'm manually sanding the inner parts of the side panels where I couldn't get to them with the angle grinder. After a while, both of the parts were cleaned up. In this clip I'm trying the brass panel in place, and yes, it fits just as well as the other side. I purposely did not cut this brass panel to fit tightly between the bunker and the side tanks, because I wasn't sure whether the bunker and side tanks were both the same at each side. I'm going to fit the second side panel by drilling it and bolting it to the side of the cab like I did with the first one. This time I'm being more scientific. I'm using a pair of engineer's clamps to hold the panel in place while I drill the holes. I think on the first one I held the panel in place manually, drilled one hole, bolted that up and then moved to the others, but this is a better method. I'm drilling the holes using my Proxxon motor tool as usual. The speed is set to moderate. You do not want the speed to be so high that the drill melts its way through the brass. This is a brand new metric drill and it's very sharp. The existing holes in the side of the cab are for the handrails, but I'm going to drill some more holes at a later stage and fit some countersunk bolts to make sure that this assembly is very strong. In this clip I'm fitting the nut on the first bolt and tightening it in place. Now I'm going to move on and drill the hole in the far corner. The hole is drilled through the brass plate in no time, and here it is fitted with the nut and bolt. 2 down, 2 to go. I'm about to drill a hole in this position, and as with the others, once the hole was drilled, I put a nut and bolt in place and tightened them up. I won't bother showing the drilling of the fourth hole. It was exactly the same as drilling all the others. You will notice a piece of wood on the side tank. This tank, cab and bunker assembly is very weak and flexes a lot. I hold a piece of wood against one of the existing mounting bolts, tap it with a hammer, and here it makes a mark. Once both of the holes were drilled, I secured the piece of wood in place using 2 brass nuts. What I'm doing is strengthening the assembly using these pieces of hardwood. It's a very crude structure, but it works. The crosspiece that says front on it is something I made a while back, which is exactly the width I need the front of the tanks to be. I've screwed this to a crosspiece, and the other crosspiece is running slightly diagonally between the 2 main bearers. And in both instances I use far too much wood glue, which is about normal. But I suppose it's better to use more wood glue than not enough. Now the tanks, cab and bunker are fully supported. I'm going to remove some more bits and pieces. This is just a bracket that holds the front of the roof, and it's only riveted through. I think I'll use bolts when I refit it. The small badge on the back of the bunker was quite difficult to remove. That was mainly because I didn't notice that it was also riveted to the bunker. I finished off the job with a piece of emery cloth. Here's the entire assembly now awaiting paint removal. It's fully reinforced and you can move it around as one unit. Before I fitted the wooden supports, it really was flimsy. I'm thinking that I may actually use paint stripper on this one, because now in my new workshop I have a bench outside the workshop and a hosepipe. I'm using a commercial paint stripper for this job. Normally I would submerge any parts in some cellulose thinners which dissolves the paint, but this is a bit big. I really hate this type of paint stripper. I think it smells very nasty. If you touch it, it burns your skin, but I have to admit it removes the paint very well. On the outer parts of the side tanks, everything's been varnished after the transfers were fitted, but this is not so on the inside of the side tanks, so the paint stripper gets to work immediately. Look at this, it's like a horror film. You can clearly see the chemical reaction. The paint doesn't like this stuff at all. This is a thinner layer of paint because there's no varnish on top of it, so the paint stripper's really getting to work very quickly. After a while I thought I would help it along by prodding it with a brush. The instructions on the can say not to paint this paint stripper onto the paint you want to remove, but to pour it on there, which is what I did, and now as you can see it's removing very easily. The trouble with this paint stripper is it starts to work really well, then it dries out and stops working. To allow the paint stripper some time to work, I thought I'd do another job on the engine. This is fitting the petticoat pipe. The petticoat pipe is a piece of copper tube with some brass lugs silver soldered to it. And unfortunately, the holes in these brass lugs on the petticoat pipe are not in the same place on both of them. The two holes are not perfectly in line, but they are relative to the brackets on the petticoat pipe. And when the petticoat pipe is bolted to the smoke box and the chimney is pushed onto the end of the petticoat pipe, it looks fine. The flare of the chimney covers the countersunk bolts. One more job out of the way, back to the paintwork. Here I'm outside using a hosepipe to blast off the paint, and as you can see it's not doing a bad job, but there is insufficient pressure to really blast the paint. The hosepipe washes away quite a lot of the paint, but not all of it, so it's time to apply some more paint stripper. I think I'll tackle the bunker. Leaving some time for the paint stripper to do its stuff on the bunker, I also applied some to the other side tank on the inside. Suddenly I remembered I had an old pressure washer under the bench in the outer part of the workshop. So I plugged my hosepipe into this and it was a lot better at blasting the paint off. It's only a very small pressure washer. It's one I bought for a job a few years ago, and I haven't used it since. After a good going over with the pressure washer, this is where I am. There's still pieces of green paint stuck to the metal, and I haven't really addressed the black paint on the top of the tanks, and my tin of paint remover is running out. That will have to do for now. I took the assembly back into the workshop and started to remove the paint using a ruler. The paint really did remove very easily this way. I followed that up by using a steel wire brush, which wasn't very effective because the space between the bristles was quite wide. The best tool by far to remove paint from brass parts is a ruler like this. The only problem with the ruler is it doesn't get right into the corners around the rivets. At this moment in time I'm thinking I will still take the part to the bead blaster. Maybe I should buy some more paint remover and try it that way. I still favour the cellulose thinners method of removing paint, because you literally sit the parts in the cellulose thinners, come back the next day and all the paint's dropped off. Here's the story so far. It's looking a lot better. I'll think about it and let you know what I'm going to do in the next episode. Stay safe, stay well, thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.